order to come together and look at how we can best respond and support schools through this, what has turned into clearly a crisis. And it's worldwide, we understand that, which is why we have a lot of schools from other countries on this particular call as well. We came together and we sort of devised some task forces. So we have people working on curriculum opportunities, things for each different level. So those resources are being sent out and posted in a central site. We have a group working on parent support and parent resources. We have a group working on the economic impact to teachers and to schools. And we have a meeting specifically on that one tomorrow at 4 p.m. That will be at this very same Zoom room address. So if you would like to come to that, we have several school leaders who have really worked hard on this and have some ideas to share as well and help you process that. Let's see, we have a task force that's working on helping schools with future planning, the what if scenarios. We all in the beginning, I think, thought that we would have, maybe 2 weeks of closures, and most of us are looking at extended closures, and some schools are saying, or some states are saying they won't be back in the rest of this school year. So we're already into planning ABC scenarios and looking to the future on how we continue to serve schools, continue to serve educators, keep educators employed as much as possible, and keep children continuing to learn and families continue to be supported. So many of these task forces are currently operating, up and operating, meeting, and we will continue to push out live meetings and recorded content as we can gather them together. We finally have a site that will be hosting all of these resources, and we'll get that information hopefully out later today or tomorrow for everybody to access some things in a more organized way. So with all of that, Tim, are you back on the recording? You're all set on that? And is there anything you want to add to that? Mm-hmm.
These days with Zoom, I can't promise anything will work. I can only say that I think so. Yeah. Andrew Kutt has been shut out of the meeting and says that, do we know that there's only 100 people? So hopefully I'm watching for Andrew, and if he gets in, I will let him into the meeting.
Try to pull him in. He's also one of our board members, and we'd like to have him here as well.
I can let him know.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Yeah.
Kathy, may I add just 2 quick things?
Sure.
Some of you have not yet muted. So again, on the bottom left of the Zoom screen, you'll see a microphone icon. Click on that until it has a red line in it, and then you will be muted, because the microphones are very sensitive and will pick up any background noise coming from where you are. The other thing is that, again, on the bottom of the icons, closer to the right side, there's a chat box. You might want to open that up so that you can read chat as it comes in, and you are welcome to put any comments, any questions, anything that you need to put in that chat box. Please feel free to do that. That will also be part of the recording here, and it is another way for us to respond to your needs. So take a look at that. Okay.
So what I would say is, first off, our goal today is to give you some sense of what is happening through not only the individual Montessori societies and people who are out there into, AMS, AMI, are all out there working to support their members. But what is, I think, very encouraging is to know we're working together. There are many, many people who are collaborating together to try to address the various needs of Montessori schools. One of those needs is, of course, helping teachers who are not familiar with distance learning figure out what do you do in an extended closing to keep a connection with your families. A basic principle that we teach at the Montessori Foundation is what you are selling is like a lifestyle product in a Montessori school, whether you're charter, public, or private, you're not doing what most schools are doing. Your product is more like Starbucks or Apple Computer or Volvo. There are fanatical fans of various products around the world, and the connection with them is not just transactional. It is a sense that this is part of their identity. This is the time to really build on the strength of the relationships that we've built over the years, to make those relationships stronger, because that's what will get us through this. We not only have to continue to provide service, we have to provide relationship between the children and their teachers, between the children and the school, the children and each other. We ourselves have to provide as much support as we can to our families. And what we're trying to do is to help people to very quickly figure out, how do we respond to this crisis? What technologies work? How can we not reinvent the wheel so that we're sharing the best resources from each other? One of the things I'll do periodically through this group is I will post resources for you that are, they're not meant to be anything major. It'll just be things you might want to look at today. Facebook pages where there are conversation groups going, and one or two videos that might be particularly powerful. So Kathy, why don't you remind people of upcoming meetings that we've got going, because there may be something that someone on this line might want to participate in later today before we get started.
Sure. So today we have this meeting, which, you know, part of the purpose is to hear from you so that we can assess the needs and to help our response teams, the task forces, respond to your needs. So we're going to be hearing from you. You're not just going to be hearing from us talk, although it seems like that so far. And then we would like to, let's see, today we have a 1 p.m. meeting about how to talk to children about this, how to talk to children when grown-ups are scared, right? Because many of us are threatened and scared and struggling with, the what ifs of what might happen next, or how are we going to get through this. So Christine, Jonathan, Baiju, Kadambi, is that right? I think on her last name. We will be hosting 2 meetings. One will be on Zoom, one will be on GoToWebinar. So if you're on our webinar list already, our webcast list, you would have received an invitation to that, and you're welcome to join. So we'll be speaking about that. And then tomorrow there's a 4 p.m. Eastern time meeting on helping schools with the economic impact, navigating these uncharted territory. Again, we don't have all the answers, but we're hoping to provide the forum for us to problem solve together, to work together, to come up with some strategies that work, because we're hearing from some schools that are absolutely in panic, and panic doesn't help us make good decisions. So we really want to help people process this in a way that is responsible and responsive to your school communities. And then because we have, again, we've maxed out on our limit again today, we'll continue to hold town hall meetings. So we'll have another town hall meeting, looks like probably on Friday. We expect we'll have something every day. Something for parents will be coming up, short resources and videos for parents, as well as the curricular things for teachers to push out. And then also, like I said, just continued town halls on any of these topics. Self-regulation, or sorry, we want to self-regulate, that'll be part of it, but self-care and learning to deal with the stress of this and taking care of ourselves. We'll have something going on for that fairly regularly as well. So there's a lot to be coming up. If you're not currently on our email list, please go ahead and put your email into the chat box. We won't publish that email, but we will take it so that you can make sure that you're added and, can be updated on any of the things that we're sending out, including resources.
Kathy, there's also a meeting, at least one meeting today specifically for educators to learn how to use online platforms to provide contact with your students. I don't have that schedule in front of me, but if you go to the Montessori Foundation Conversations group, it is the schedule for those meetings. There's one for each level over the next 3 days, and that schedule and the links are on Montessori Foundation Conversations group.
Yeah, also they'll be posted on our website, montessori.org, under news and announcements. So we are trying to keep track of and have a master list of meetings from a variety of organizations and resources so that you have access to that. And then I'd like to turn over to John. Can you talk to us a little bit about, there's certain things as we have prepared for these meetings that we hear over and over again. And so there's, I think, about 6 different areas that we might share with people that we've been hearing as far as concerns, requests for information, things like that.
Sure, Kathy, let me get to that on my screen. Let me just say before I share this list of 6 areas that we repeatedly have been hearing are schools' needs and teachers' needs and parents' needs and school leaders' needs, the tendency would be to go, how do we support the children and the families, and how do I make sure my school will sustain itself and survive? And I think it would be very easy to forget 2 others that Tim has already referred to and Christine has referred to, which is care of ourselves, making sure that we are in a place as school teachers and parents and leaders of a relative degree of calmness and as much positivity as we can summon. And then, as Tim said, that sense of community. So if I were to sort of scope and sequence our work as Montessorians, it's the practical life of taking care of ourselves, staying connected to our teachers, staying connected to our parents, staying connected to the children. And then, of course, we want to supply the children with curriculum and learning experiences. And of course, we need to look at the business side of this equation to keep our schools going. But let's not forget to take care of ourselves and to stay connected to our communities, because that becomes the sort of the grace and courtesy foundation of everything we do. With regard to common messages we've been hearing from around the world, let me share the 6 that are really the big ones that keep on coming up. How to create a home-based learning environment so that children can continue their learning and development. And there are really 2 aspects to this that we're trying to support people in. The helping the guides and assistants develop some online processes that are developmentally appropriate for children of various ages, and providing suggestions to parents of what they can do as a family that is both family building, community building, but also educational for their children. So that area of continuing the prepared environment of home is a big one, and we have a task force led by Kitty Bravo working on that. How to address the fiscal challenge of the cessation of on-campus operations. And there are really 3 parts to this: how to address the tuition revenue issue. Do we continue to charge tuition? How much tuition? And that's a whole issue that we're working on and we can support you in. Another aspect of the fiscal is how to address staff compensation, of course, and then how to keep our operating expenses, covered, because we still have operating expenses as schools. Number 3 is how to help students, staff, and parents engage in routine self-care. I mentioned that earlier, and that's a huge one: maintaining emotional equilibrium, de-stressing, and staying as positive as we can, hopeful as we can as a community. Number 4 is how to best communicate to parents and staff about the school's responses and plans in this really fluid environment as community, national, and world events keep on unfolding at an exponential pace. It's important that we, again, keep in touch with our families and our teachers, and in an appropriate way, the children, about how the school is responding. So that's sort of the communications end that we can support you in. How and what to communicate to various age children about the nature of this event is hugely important. I had some experiences after 9/11 of hearing from young children information about what happened that they should never have, that parents should never have shared with them about the crisis of 9/11, and then older children needing more information. So we're also having a group working on how we help parents and teachers communicate to children of various ages about this world event in a way that actually brings children's stress down and builds community. And the last area that we would like to support you in that we've heard is sort of long-term scenario planning. If this happens, how will we respond as a school? There are many school districts in the United States that are now talking about, we may not come back at all this school year. This may go all the way through June. And so how do we respond to those contingencies and trying to get out ahead of the wave in planning, kind of like looking at this as a chess game, so we're not caught in a place of stress because we didn't think about something that could happen. Those are the key areas, Kathy, that we're looking at, and our task forces are researching that, and we will be sharing a lot of information about those areas depending upon your needs.
Terrific. Thanks, John. And I think that at this point, we'd really like to hear from the participants who've taken time to come on today. We want to just give you a little bit of framework where we've been, what we've been working on, and why we're doing this. So hopefully we've done that. And I know Tim has put some links into the chat for if you're looking for the Conversations Facebook page that Christine was speaking about, or you're looking for our website where we'll be putting news and updates and more meetings, things like that. That'll be kept up every day. Those kinds of links are in there, so feel free to copy and paste those so you have that. And I see a lot of people have put their email directly in as well, so we'll make sure that you're added to all the lists to get all the updates. And really, this is changing every day. I'm sure you feel in your schools that it's changing every day. And so we're in the same boat. We're going to continue to respond as we hear from people and see what the needs are. Part of today's meeting is, as I said earlier, to assess what are your needs. So we want to hear from you. Want to hear what's happening. If you have things to tell us, share with us that you have been doing at your school, we're interested in hearing about it. If you're a consultant who's been working with schools, we're happy to hear what you've been hearing from schools. So if you could tell us your name and maybe where you're from, anything you have been doing, and of course, any challenges or any needs that you're unsure about that we might be able to help with or direct you to some resources that are already available. People have been exceptionally willing to share, and it's really heartwarming. I don't know, John says heartburning, but I agree the whole situation is heartburning. But the heartwarming part is that, you know, in difficult times, Montessorians step up, they share, and we still are working together in a very positive way. So thanks for being here, and I'm going to open it up. If you would like to speak, just unmute, and you know we'll try to monitor, make sure everybody's not speaking at once.
Hi, it's Larry Schanker.
Hi, Larry.
Hi. I've been trying my best. I'm from Brookview Montessori School in Benton Harbor, Michigan. As we send out materials to parents, I try and put caveats in there to try and remind them it's not a checklist that the child has to work their way through as quick as possible and not homework. But
Yeah.
any language from all of you would be appreciated, because I worry for the kids about the power struggles with the parents who kind of have a hard time understanding the context of what we're sending home.
Larry, that is such a great point. And what we're trying to convey to parents is that we're not expecting parents to turn into teachers. We want parents to be with children and to be parents. And so the opportunity for helping parents know how to prepare the environment so that children can be independent, how to have realistic expectations for what children should be quote unquote working on. All of us are distracted from our regular work because we're in crisis. We can certainly expect that children will be a little bit challenged in just staying on task for 6 hours a day. I don't think that's our goal, nor do I think it should be. So I think, you know, helping parents to understand their role and how we can help. And it also, you know, if they're doing homeschooling, if indeed we're going to have the parents be the teachers and be homeschooling, then we're going to have more people leaving our schools. We want to stay in community. We want to keep the educators delivering content.
Kathy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to address that. It's a wonderful question, Larry. Thank you. And I think, it's very important that parents understand philosophically that children in Montessori classrooms, especially by this time of the year, have a lot of choice. That we are not constantly saying, okay, what work are you going to do next? What work are you going to do next? Reminding parents that these are opportunities for your children to stay happily and constructively engaged, but it's not a scope and sequence that your child has to do math and then clean up their room and then do this. And I think letting parents understand that children have choices, and to keep them calm and happily engaged, we don't want to give them a sense of these are your assignments for the day, because that's not what we do in a Montessori classroom. Older children may have a work plan, but they still have freedom of choice as to how they go about that plan. So I think that philosophic principle is very important to communicate to parents, that these are opportunities for your child to stay happily, constructively engaged. It's not a to-do list. We don't do that in Montessori.
Yeah, and so, yeah, Larry, I think that you're right, though, having some language around that. And, we're trying to give you some off the top of our head, but that I've made a note of that, and probably taking notes. So we will look at what we can do to help with that as well.
Thanks so much. Very, very helpful already.
In addition to what John was saying, I would also like to, just as a talking point, and I agree with Kathy, we'll put something together of talking points for any of you to use. But the idea that right now, because this is an extraordinarily difficult and different kind of time, that we all need to understand that trying to do anything for 6 hours in a day is going to be very difficult for any of us. So accepting and honoring the idea that we need to build in movement breaks, we need to build in brain breaks, we need to really, that idea of caring for ourselves by listening to our bodies and doing what we need to do in between our work periods.
Yeah. Okay, I'd love to hear from some other folks who are here. Okay. Oh my goodness. Now I'm seeing who all the people who are here. So I'm going to ask Catherine Ching. You're here today, and I know you have been doing a lot of work in Asia. So could you maybe give us an update on what you've been doing?
Hi everyone. Hi Kelly. Well, when things started here in Asia, obviously I could not travel to China, but a group of us immediately started offering some support for parents. We gave them resources that we have created in the school. We have parents print out the 3-part cards. We made short videos to show them how they can do some lessons. But on the whole, we were just encouraging parents to make use of this opportunity to connect with their kids, which they never had before because they were all busy working. Some are going crazy. But by and large, parents are accepting that, it's a good time to connect with their children. And I jumped on this opportunity to join in and see what else I can learn, and I hope to support the parents and the schools.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Catherine. I would love for us to follow up, sometime in the next couple of days. We're pretty scheduled right now, and I'm sure you are too.
Yes.
I think it would be good for us to connect and see how we can support you. And I know you're doing a lot of good work there. Josie, thanks, Catherine. How about Josie? Josie Hill is here, and I believe you're, I'm not finding you, but you're here somewhere.
Here.
There you are.
So I think our staff is doing a great job working together we started thinking about the process of distance learning a few weeks ago, and we're meeting via different technologies, Zoom, Google Meet, to make some plans. Kitty's suggestions for Zoom meetings for teachers and what can be included are wonderful, and we're happy to share the packets once we come up with them.
Yeah.
And are looking forward to learning from Kitty's meetings. And early childhood is really what we're concerned about the most, since they're so concrete with the developmental appropriateness of teachers, you know, the children looking at the screen to interact with the teachers. And so we're looking for as much guidance as we can get from the Montessori Foundation IMC on developmental appropriateness for 3 to 6.
Yeah, that's 3 to 6, and our infant toddlers are probably the biggest request. We seem to be able to figure it out pretty easily for older children, but that's going to continue to, those task forces under Kitty's guidance and leadership have been very active and coming up with more and more ideas. So our goal is to make sure you get those resources because a lot of work is being done, and it's just a matter of taking the volume of things and getting them to all of you.
Yeah, the biggest concern that we have is that people will just throw stuff willy-nilly at parents. And that's not what's going to get us through this. Even infant toddlers are using strategies very successfully if they're reaching out, communicating with parents, letting them know, creating live times for the children and parents to see each other, to sing songs together. This is really not simply about coming up with digital packets or some sort of online imitation of Montessori materials. That's not what's going to cut it, although you may do some of that. What's most important is establishing moment-to-moment, real-time, multi-way, like we are right now, conversations. So for example, I'd like to invite all of you to take your Zoom account that you're on right now, and if you haven't already done it, up in your upper right corner, you should see 2 funny icons. One of them looks like a bunch of little squares forming a larger square. I want you to touch that with your mouse or your finger if you're on an iPad. And unless you're on a smartphone, you should have just gone to a screen filled with the faces of different people. So I want you to imagine you're an early childhood Montessori guide and you've established 2-way communication with most, if not all, of the families of your class. And you're talking with them. You're not delivering them a recorded lesson, although that's another strategy. Cindy Acker, for example, at the Child Unique, has had her teachers recording very short video lessons. I'm not quite sure where they're going to fit into best practice, but they're out there and you can find lots of that, or you could create it. But the most important thing we're sensing is people don't want to see a recording of a stranger talking to their child unless it's maybe John Wolfe reading a story to them or Michael Dorr giving a great lesson. I think there is some value in that sort of stuff, but it's really the sense of continuing community as we hunker down in place. Just as we're talking with each other, the secret of your school's survival is getting your teachers up to speed quickly so that they are having regular times in the day when they are talking with the children and possibly the children's teachers, because the younger they are, somebody's going to be home caring for them. Your parents are going to be very stressed out. One of the things you want to be doing is keeping the relationship between you and those parents going strong. You're going to be wanting, in a very careful way, to remind them how much your gratitude is felt for our sense of community as a school, as a class. Remind them that we're all in this together. Let's support each other's businesses. It's your tuition dollars that keep these teachers fed and the guinea pigs fed. And we are working really hard to continue to support your family and your children's education.
Yeah, I think those are really essential things, Tim, and the feeling of, as we all feel like we don't want to be alone, we're in community, we have great Montessori colleagues to support us. The families also want that. They want to look at familiar faces. They want to be able to say, yeah, we're all in this together. because people feel like if they, when you feel helpless, if you feel like you can just do something, even, once a week, what we're modeling here with this type of format is what we're suggesting that you do with your families once a week, to let them know at a regular time every week. You can count on it. We'll be here for you, for the families. And then also similarly for the students. It's not always about delivering content. It's about helping children to continue to see each other's friendly faces, to see their familiar, their teachers' faces, people from their school. This is going to provide them an opportunity to feel like, we will get through this, because it's scary.
Happy?
And that's the part we want to help. Yeah, John?
Yeah, Heather has a question that she's posted here on the chat about some of my teachers do not have reliable internet connection. Do you want to talk a little bit about our IT group, our task force? And the support that's coming up there?
Yeah, or you can, if you'd like. I mean, we do have people working on it. There's a very big concern about digital equity. That, this is a very big concern for publicly funded programs, because they have a responsibility that what they do for one child, they do for all children. And if you don't have access to that, that's an issue. We also have the concern in many private schools, because most of us have very socioeconomically diverse schools with different opportunities. Sometimes we live in parts of the world where internet is not reliable. It's not a reliable way to reach out to families. And so we have a group, and we're really interested in hearing any creative ways that you have dealt with this issue, because we cannot bring people together. We know that while people, a lot of times they don't have internet or a computer, most everyone has some sort of a phone device, and we're finding that more and more people can communicate that way, either through group calls. Even Zoom can be done on a phone, just through your self-service. So we have to really look at, and the technology committee is looking at a variety of ways to help schools. John, anything I missed on that? Because I don't have all the answers.
Let me just add that.
Just something quickly for Heather. Sorry, Tim, just a real quick suggestion. Unless, Heather, your teachers are in a place where they're sheltered in place like San Francisco, if she can get with a phone, a smartphone, an iPad, something to a place where there's better internet connection. The key here, as Tim has said several times already, is the daily connection with children and families. That sense of community is important. So if your teacher can find a more reliable internet site, that would be ideal.
Yeah, and for many of us, it is going to be the smartphone. And there are all sorts of ways people are trying to achieve this. So we're not suggesting there's a one size fits all. For example, in much of the world, the application WhatsApp works well for at least one-to-one video conversation. And again, I've seen, Tammy Willen mention that there's Microsoft and different collaborative meeting platforms, there's Skype. There's no limit to options. That's one of the ways the world has changed. But what we've got to do, because our teachers are not necessarily familiar with it, is you got to figure out what's the best thing for you. For example, as we speak, I'm watching our friends at Trillium Montessori, who created a free open support group for parents, and various people are taking turns talking. They're doing Facebook live streaming. Now, that's a strategy, just as it would be to record a video and put it on YouTube, send the parents a link. I think the difference is it's one-way communication. So there's no one solution. I really encourage you, if you think you've created something good, like Pete Judd's created his distance learning handbook from the Montessori School of Tokyo that I shared in the chat up above, you probably want to download that now and just take a look at it. Pete shared it freely so that people would have a point of departure in thinking about what they're doing. You may even want to send that out. I saw one school that put a cover on it digital cover with Adobe Acrobat Pro where they added an image, a page in PDF, and they sent it to their parents as a PDF. But it's one of the free resources. We're uploading resources to a number of places. One of the groups we recommend is our own free Montessori Foundation conversations, because what we're trying to do there is have very coherent, focused conversation. We're seeing a lot of people talking, and it's really, really overwhelming. And that may be what brought you here today.
Yeah, I was just looking, Stacy, if you look on your chat, Stacy Grasso from Amesbury Montessori in Amesbury, Massachusetts, has written some really interesting things about maintaining sort of a balanced nutritional experience for children. Stacy, if you're able to chime in there, would you give us a little more detail?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. So yeah, I've just been emailing the children in my program. I actually am responsible for the youngest, and my co-teacher is responsible for the oldest in terms of observation and progress reports. So I feel like practical life is really the basis of everything for them. And so I'm just encouraging families to just involve children in everyday activities. And for example, yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, so I sent out a recipe for Irish soda bread, and just as a suggestion of kind of getting them thinking about how they can involve their children. And then I'm planning on sending out something about breaking down activities, like if you were to cook with them, take the time to maybe chop the vegetables, put them in the bowl, and let them put them in the salad, and sort of breaking things down so that the children are involved in setting the table and teaching them how to fold napkins and things like that. So that's kind of my plan there, but I'm keeping in touch and getting great feedback.
Well, I also love what you wrote here. I encourage lots of time reading together and perhaps starting a chapter book together. I think that's absolutely great, because it's bringing the family together and it's educational. So thank you so much for your ideas.
Sure, thank you.
Stacy, you might want to share with other Montessorians, for example, if you join the Montessori Facebook conversation, the Montessori Foundation conversation group, if you wanted, you could post a daily thing, and you could post it anywhere you want. I mean, the bottom line is people are sharing a lot. But what we're trying to do is to curate. We're trying to have a very coherent way that other teachers can see things that they think might help their staff. So, we as leaders of schools and we as individual teachers, we got to help each other to figure out, what do you do first, and what do we do tomorrow, and how do we keep this going? What's best practice? Because, for example, I looked at one of you who said, my child's in school in Virginia, I'm having to work in North Carolina. Wow. And I can't even imagine. And the shelves are, John, what were the grocery shelves like when you got here to Florida?
Last night I went in and they're getting bare. They're having trouble keeping up.
So the bottom line is, I can tell you in Florida, they started with a 2-week closure. Then they just overnight made it into a 4-week closure. One of the very interesting things we've had in earlier meetings is Karen Ann from the Montessori School of Hong Kong, the International Montessori School, Hong Kong, which is one of our sister schools. It described for us in excruciating detail what it was like to go from a short duration shutdown to now I think they're in their 3rd and looking at a 4th month. And we need to stay calm. We need to really cultivate the relationship with our families, and we need to develop more sophisticated plans, but we do it one step at a time, because we don't have anything in the can. We've never had to do this, as far as I know, ourselves before, except for people who have been in war-torn regions, or the hurricane in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. By the way, tomorrow in the webcast, Pete Bourne from the Montessori School of the Virgin Islands is going to join us to talk about how he organized his staff, but they didn't have to keep social distance from each other. That's one of our challenges.
Yeah, that's Michael Bourne, just for the record.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. And Michael will be on the 4 p.m. Eastern meeting on the economic impact. Is that right, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Just want to clarify that. So I'd like to hear from some more of you on what your potential challenges, questions, or needs are, as well as some of the things that you've done that can be shared. So is anybody interested in sharing?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi again, Kathy. I've been following this since you guys started and I love it. And thank you very much for doing this. It's very helpful.
And let me, you're in
Lamia, yes, my name is Lamia and I'm coming from Qatar.
Qatar. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. One of the challenges I have is I have some of my teachers that are very technologically challenged, like me.
Mhm.
And they don't like to be on camera. They're not comfortable to go live with their class. So we have 6 classrooms, and in each classroom I have 2 teachers. And for example, in one of my classes, both of them, they're very uncomfortable using this mean of communication. So as a school per se, I cannot have, for example, 3 of my classes using a live stream with my with the children and teachers, and parents, while the other 3 classes are not comfortable and they're not going to use it and use something completely different. So as a school owner, I prefer to have cohesiveness in the school and have everybody using the same mean of communicating with the children and the parents.
Mhm.
So I have, some of them are very eager to use the live. They're using Zoom or other ways to communicate and have the children do the circle time and talk to them and tell them, hey, I'm here. While others, they don't want, they're very reluctant. So what can I do? How can I, as a school owner, ask what other solutions I have? I don't know how to even phrase the question.
Well,
John, you look like you're ready to jump on that one. Go ahead.
I mean, this is one of those very challenging, thank you for the question, challenging leadership situations where I can only say, and you know your people, obviously, I don't know your particular staff and their personalities, but there are times in leadership, especially in a crisis, where on the one hand, you have to mandate, we have to move to this to serve the children, serve the families, support and save the school. And then the other side of that equation is, how can I create a very gentle, comfortable environment so these people can become more familiar with this medium, this online medium? So I'm wondering, would your teachers be open, the ones who are not comfortable with online processes, would they be comfortable sitting in with the teachers, who are comfortable and sort of being coached and gently mentored so they can watch another teacher who's more comfortable kind of give a Montessori lesson or do some online things with their parents and children, and over time, maybe within a week or so, get up to speed themselves, because it's sort of a gentle coaching and mentoring process. But I do think on some level, you might need to mandate, we're going to gently migrate to this direction. We need to do this, but we want it to be a gentle migration. We don't want anybody to feel stressed about their learning curve.
Right.
Yeah, you're right, Jonathan. And this is doable, but one of the challenges is the quarantine that the whole country is in. So that nobody's going to the school, and if they go to the school, it's literally one person goes on her own and does what she needs to do, but they cannot be as a group.
Well, keep in mind, they could sit in on an online conversation with another teacher and their families and their children. They wouldn't need to be sitting next to the teacher. They're simply watching the teacher online do the process as a passive observer. They don't need to participate. They don't need to do anything. We just need to get them on that particular Zoom or Skype call to observe and become more familiar with what that teacher is doing.
And by just the maybe the children of that classroom, by seeing their teacher's face alone, and even if the other teacher is the one that's talking, maybe that way they would feel a little bit more comfortable. That's a great idea.
Agreed.
Maybe that's way to start it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the other thing I want to make sure that you're aware of, Lamia, is that we have some how to do Zooms and what they can be used for at each level. So we will be posting those. If I can grab them, I can put them in the chat. Otherwise, they will be on our website. I have somebody working on that as we speak, updating the news and announcements with those particular links for how to do a Zoom meeting, how to feel comfortable with it, and how they can be best used so that people, because, you know, we understand people aren't comfortable, you know, not everyone's comfortable with the technology, but I will say that all of us are out of our comfort zone right now. Let's just accept that. And sometimes we have to help people get to that place, that we have to accept what we previously thought was unacceptable.
Thank you. And I can tell that you have for the upper elementary and the secondary. Are you guys gonna do something for the little ones, for the 3 to 6? Please,
Yes.
I need it in the morning for the time difference.
It's all in the works, and they're getting them done as quickly as they can, and we'll get them posted as quickly as we can.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lamia.
Thank you, Lamia.
So Kathy Rohr, who's a good friend of mine who teaches in Washington, D.C., and then is joining us in Sarasota next year, is working with the technology wing with Kitty Bravo and company. She's been posting. Kathy, I noticed you've got the infant toddler Zoom session, how to Zoom, lower elementary, upper elementary, secondary. Is there a one for the early childhood?
Yes.
While we're at it, is it there? I just didn't see it.
It may not be there yet, but it will be there today.
I just wanted to thank Kathy, wherever you are on the group, Kathy, really appreciate it. And please jump in. I see that Andrew Kutt has joined in, I think only by phone. Andrew?
Yeah, I'm here and finally happy to join. Yes.
Thanks, Andrew. Can you fill us in? I know you had a very well-developed plan early on. Can you give us some insight into what's happening in your area in the Maryland and DC area?
Well, all the schools are closed at this point. I think just about all the private schools in addition to all the public schools. And so we are now just launching kind of the first days of the distance learning and, you know, just kind of getting a sense of how that's going to work or not work. And, you know, also at the same time, people are starting to get more, the reality is starting to set in, right, on all of this. And so there's definitely a need for support of the parents and support of the students. And so, for example, we're just setting up our Parent Association Zoom meeting on Friday so we can get a finger on the pulse of how the parents are feeling. And we are also having our counselor a Zoom session with our high school students also on Friday. And yeah, I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but you know, as we try to talk about how we're going to keep the schools going and keep the curriculum going, I think increasingly what we want to focus on, or what I'm going to focus on, is just supporting each other and holding each other through this time with many, many unknowns. And I think people just need to be heard and feel connected. So, yeah. So I'm doing a sing-along for my community on Friday morning. Anyone actually could join that, but I plan on doing more of that type of thing. And then John and I were talking yesterday about doing something where it would be more of kind of a reflection time, a silent reflection combined with some poems and prayers and songs and things like that. So we'll be announcing that as soon as possible. But, you know, generally speaking, everyone is abiding by the protocols to stay safe. Just about everyone is home here in the DC area now, unless you are, I mean, there are people going to on the roads, but generally speaking, we're home except to go out for a walk or something like that. So, so that's the short update from right now.
Andrew?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to just reinforce something that Andrew said, because Andrew is in my heart and mind a model school leader. He walks his talk. You know, it's so easy to jump into what learning experiences do we want to bring the children? You know, how am I going to pay? How am I going to take it? What am I going to do about tuition? It's the constant community connections. Yesterday, Tim and Tanya at the Newgate School had a online parent symposium where parents could just talk about what they were going through. So it was a online community meeting. Andrew was holding, you know, community meetings. So it would be very easy to just like, teachers, I want you to do this, and completely bypass. I just need to bring the teachers together in an online meeting to talk about how they're doing to support them. The same thing with parents and the same thing with children. They need to see their teachers. They need to see other human contact. So to me, it's that critical thing that Tim keeps coming back to, constantly checking in with people to see how they're doing individually or collectively becomes the foundation for then doing the more technical work, like bringing lessons to the children or figuring out what you're going to do on a business side. So thank you, Andrew.
I just want to say that the social emotional piece of this in the category of self-care is huge. I mean, we know more and more and more how important social emotional literacy is for all of us, but particularly at this time. And those will be some of the resources that we can look at if those are things that you would like, including even, you know, we have a course on teaching social emotional awareness and skills to children of all ages, and that might be something that we could you know, begin to push out to you if it's something that you would be interested in. So please let us know about those specific needs.
Yeah, and we have to keep in mind our health, physical health and mental health are the first priority, far beyond creating curriculum. That's all happening, and that's a good support, but it's only a very small piece of what we're all dealing with. And so, you know, I have a couple of questions here regarding music. I know people are, just as a throw out an idea, we've heard from schools that are posting on YouTube. They're creating a YouTube channel and they're doing music lessons and opportunities for dance and interactive opportunities, and putting it in YouTube for families to access as needed. So there's still a variety of things. We can't possibly share all the ideas and resources today, but I would like to continue to hear from anyone who does have a particular need or something that you would like to share.
I have a question.
Heather,
Ruby?
Yes, thank you. I work with CGMS and different components, IG and, you know, field consultant. I also worked at the Discovery School in McAllen, Texas, where I know Jonathan and Tim have both visited. You know, parent education is such a big component of what we do. And I think maybe this is already in place. I haven't seen it, but, you know, just a phone call, a crisis kind of hotline. I know that many parents can just be thinking of something right off the bat and they don't want to wait for Facebook or want to wait to get on or something. And I know that takes somebody manning a phone, but I know that for myself, sometimes I want to just pick up a phone and call someone and talk to them. And of course, this would be on the lines of, I'm thinking, just Montessori philosophy, questions they have. We wouldn't be able to answer specific questions about schools and what they do, but something where it's an instant gratification for the parent to be able to have an answer. Is that already in place?
It's not really in place in a formal way. We do field calls pretty much all day on cell phones and on our 800 number, but I think having some designated times perhaps where people could call in, and we would have some of the volunteers and or staff manning during particular hours of a day is a realistic opportunity. Tim, what do you think about that?
Well, the first time I did one of these calls, I mean, this thing unfolded so fast. I posted something on Facebook about a week ago, just asking for the schools that were already having shutdowns, how are your people planning to deal with distance learning because it's not something we normally want to do in Montessori. And that led to the head, Sarah Suchman, the head of the National Center in Montessori in the public sector, said, I hear rumors you're doing that. And I said, well, no, but it looks to me like maybe we ought to collaborate. And that led me to have a foundation and IMC staff meeting, which in turn led the next day to a call out to all of the leaders who are part of the Montessori Leaders Collaborative, plus everyone else we could think of who we thought might be willing to invest time to collaborate. What I'm really proud to say is that hundreds of people are beginning to work together across party lines, and we're also realizing the heavy-duty scope of the work. Now, in answer to your question, Ruby, the day that we announced the first meeting, which I think was last Friday, it was supposed to occur at 1, I don't remember what time it was, but I was sitting there because I had given out my private Zoom channel. People were logging on. Tammy Gill and her group got on hours in advance. And God bless them. And we had a long conversation.
I couldn't get on. I was one of the ones that couldn't get on.
Well, yeah, and again, we're frustrated with Zoom because clearly they're challenged. And one of the things I would say is, first off, thank you for the suggestion, because I think we could do a office hours thing like Zoom where people just pop on, pop off when they want and they have someone to talk to. But speaking as someone who is, when my mother died, I was 24 years old and my mother was 59, and she was a mountain climber and a rider and a skier, and none of us ever expected it would happen. And all of a sudden, I'm in charge of the Barry School, where I met Andrew Kutt and Paul Epstein and others who became part of our big school team. And I had not a clue what to do. And this was a total crisis before computers. Mom had it in her head. And it was basically, for me in those days, the same as what we're going through. How do you keep the school running? How do you not go bankrupt? How do you pay the teachers? Getting bank accounts transferred. And what saved my butt was bringing in consultants.
Yeah.
I had Hilda Rothschild, Martha McDermott, and Selma Perry would come in a week at a pop together 4 times a year. And then lots and lots of telephone support.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the people that helped me save the school. And that took 3 years. Over the years, I got to know others who do it professionally. Independent School Management was the big group I introduced to the Montessori community. And then after about 25 years, I realized no one was doing it who really understood Montessori. And so we created the Montessori Foundation, and have encouraged people like Christine and John and many others to begin to form their own nexuses of support to schools. Now, right now, what we're doing is we're just saying all bets are off. We're just doing for you for free what we know got us through crisis. And we also realized that in these 1-hour meetings, we're not going to help Tammy or Valerie or Kelly. We all have to do everything we can to figure out all the different permutations of this. One thing I want to say is to you, Lamia Ibrahim, I think that John tried to say, there are ways to try to comfort your teachers who are uncomfortable, but you got to save your school. And if you have to, my advice to you would be, you get on the video and do work with those parents. So you find teachers who are willing to do it. And if people don't have internet or they can't do video stream, then do WeChat, do iPhones, do email, do anything that works. Because really it isn't one thing. It's trying to strengthen the sense of community and relationship between you and your families and your teachers and each other, your teachers and you as their leader, because they're scared that you're going to stop paying them. And this could all choke up very quickly. And so we've got to really work together to emotionally support each other and to strengthen relationships and get those parents really deeply bonded once again to the school as a support center for their family. John?
Yeah, thank you, Tim. I was thinking about something that Christine was saying about, supporting children socially, emotionally, and Andrew's idea of having his sing-along on Friday. This just popped into my head. I don't know whether this would have efficacy, but if during these stressful times, people need to find meaning through contribution, what do you think about the idea of taking a look at the list of the children in your school, and then the list of the staff on your team and your parents through the filters of what do each of these people have an interest in? Where are their talents? Is there any way that I could engage, whether it's older children or younger children or certain parents, in presenting something to the community, whether it's artistic or musical or humor? So, it's kind of the idea of, could we invite more people into sharing the best of themselves, their cultural experiences, their personal talents with the community? Because when people are engaged creatively, or whether they have something that they want to share that's really about them, it builds a tremendous sense of community and camaraderie. So I'm just wondering whether that might be something to introspect on, of like, what are my people interested in? What are their talents? What are their experiences? And can we invite them into that circle of sharing?
John, and I would just like to add to that I think, we know as Montessorians that children want and need meaningful work. So how can we even use our older students? I know a lot of schools are scrambling to have their teachers record books so that the children can look at those videos. What if we had some of our children from the elementary classrooms reading books? Absolutely. And share those with the younger children? I think the more that we can help our children feel like they have some meaningful involvement in this crisis, if you will, the more they're going to feel a sense of control. And it's when we feel out of control that we get upset, right? So I love that idea, John. I think we can really cultivate that.
With children and with adults, we certainly want to look at their skills that they could share, their knowledge, but even more importantly, what are their passions? What gives them a sense of meaning? This child is into, lizards, into reptiles. Like, well, let them present something on reptiles to children. Like, it's about what is meaningful to people that they can then contribute. Will create a tremendous sense of calmness and community, it seems to me.
Yeah, we've heard of children.
Jonathan, can I just pipe in on that for a second?
Please.
This is Claire.
Claire.
I love the idea of getting parents involved. Hi. We used to we called it an intensive learning week, and we would intentionally get parents to come and give classes to the kids on things that they were experts in. And it was a wonderful experience for the kids, but the parents. So I think that is a fabulous idea, to get parents involved as well, to share whatever their passions and skills are.
Yeah.
And I have some information on that I'd be happy to share.
Jonathan, I also think you could have a cooking class. The little 3 to 6 year olds standing with their mother making a cake, and videotape that, and that would inspire other children to really get into, let's do this. Let's have a cooking class.
So schools have shared videos of some, parents will upload the video of their child doing the activity because their friends like to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
We also have schools that have elementary and secondary students who've come on Zoom like this and have their own planning meetings for how are they going to plan their day. They're used to having autonomy, right? They're used to this. And so they're coming on in a Zoom meeting, sharing ideas with each other, asking each other challenging questions. What project are you working on? What am I doing? What can I help you with? And so children are really very capable of leading their own learning in many ways. And so we want to give them that format and those opportunities. They are not used to, in most Montessori schools, being given a list and saying, just do this all day, like Larry was talking about earlier. You don't want to hand them a checklist of, here's how you're going to occupy your day and stay out of my way because I have work to do.
Well,
right?
and Kathy, the psychological principle here is, children and adults under stress you know, if they feel like they're passive recipients of the circumstances, it's very, very stressful. If they feel they can make meaning out of it by offering something, you've immediately reduced their stress because they've now created meaning and created a contribution. They're not sitting around waiting for world events to unfold.
I've got to share something really quick. I just thought about my 4-year-old and 5-year-old grandchildren love to build forts. And just having kids I mean, it takes a lot of thought to put it together without parents' help, you know, move the chairs, put the things, and I mean, just share your fort today, you know, kind of thing. So,
Totally.
all kinds of ideas, right? Wonderful ideas.
Yeah, this idea of a circle of some sort that, you know, families and kids can communicate with each other. What the parents are saying at my schools, we don't want our kids playing Minecraft or Fortnite all day and night. They're really looking for something a little bit more sophisticated than that. The bottom line is, those of us who are in public schools or charter schools, we are mandated to continue learning. Those of us who are in private schools, we normally depend on tuition to pay the bills. And in the Montessori community, we are more than 70% of all Montessori schools. Both publicly funded and private are incredibly important to the ecosystem. We must protect the private Montessori schools as well as the public and charter. Because if the private go down, we'll see Montessori go the way of Frederick Froebel's work, the kindergarten, which has now become so diluted that no one even remembers who he was, what he did, and kindergarten is just a generic word for a program for preschool. We really have to work together to make sure our schools stay healthy and alive so that we can feed our teachers, feed ourselves, pay the mortgage, pay the rent. So sharing resources is really helpful.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well said, Tim, as the comments came in. Lindsay says, and Lindsay, you sent this to me privately, I hope it's okay to share. She's saying that maybe two different approaches. We have parents who are working from home during this time, trying to get their work done, but parents are getting overwhelmed with so much, so many ideas, so many things what they're supposed to be doing with their children. And again, this is part of, you know, reaching out and helping support our parents. And we're not looking for you to give up your job and be teaching your children 6 hours a day. That is really not any of our goals. It's about, you know, holding people together in health and in positive energy and helping them to cope, if you will, with what's happening with us every day.
Well, Kathy, you hit upon a very key word, supposed to. So I think the underlying attitude, paradigm, mindset of offering parents ideas of things that they can do at home is, these are some things you can do to create family synergy, family connection, and have your child be meaningfully engaged. It's not what you're supposed to do. These are resource ideas. So it's not, again, it's not a to-do list, because that's going to put parents and kids under a lot of stress.
And that's part of what we're talking about, talking to schools. Keep it simple. Don't try to overwhelm your parents and feel like, oh, look, we're giving you all this content, therefore you keep paying us tuition, right? It's not, it's got to be done in a drip out fashion. Parents can't handle a whole week's worth of ideas. You know, what's something you can do today for the different levels? What's something our teachers will, I'm hearing, reading on the chat that some people are having office hours. They're trying to put boundaries in for teachers too. Teachers can't be 20 hours a day being contacted by families in crisis. There's certain hours, and keep in mind the routines of this, the putting the boundaries, give people security, knowing I have this next thing to look forward to. I know when I can reach out to my school or my teacher, or when they're going to be reaching out to me. Routine establishes security. So let's remember to keep that in mind too.
Hi, I have a question. Building on what Lamia said about teachers who are really concerned about going virtual with lessons and stuff, that was also one of the concerns that we had at our group. And one of the major concerns as well was in terms of boundaries. For example, like we are aware that children would be able to record us, you know, during a lesson or an online conversation, and a lot of teachers weren't comfortable with that. So we're trying to figure out how to navigate our way around that, because, you know, some teachers are willing to go online and some teachers weren't. So we're just trying to navigate our way around that. And does anyone have any suggestions?
Personally, during a crisis like this, I think that many of our old mindsets have to change. However, there will be people, either because of faith issues or personal fears, that some video of them is going to get posted online and be turned into embarrassment. I really think that one of the advantages of Zoom is it's private. The only way they could record it is if you make a recording of the session and then post it, and someone decides to share that online, but they're really big files and most people don't want to do that. So right now we are recording you. It is our plan to share this online openly. So all of you who have your faces unmuted, you might, if you're talking, appear on the actual recording screen. I think it only captures whoever's talking. But the theory is that right at the moment, privacy is not as important as helping each other. And since only 100 people can get on at a time, and many of you will want to review what was said today or in some other meeting, that's what we're doing. And basically that's what I would do, Whitney, is I would use a platform like Zoom or Google Hangouts. You don't have to record it unless you want to. It can be live experience. It doesn't have to be on Facebook. If it's Facebook, then it is public.
Yeah.
So again, you can create private channels between your teachers and your children. The bottom line is anything can work. It's just that two-way video works better than an email. And you just kind of fall back from there.
Yeah.
But you said something at the beginning, Tim, that I want to reinforce, which is this is a very abnormal time in history, and it's going to take some getting out of our old thinking boxes to get through this as a group and as individuals. And I think as school leaders, if you are a school leader or have a leadership role in your school, it's important to set the cultural tone. We're going to need to be open to trying things that make us uncomfortable. You know, we need to be lifelong learners through this process, and we want to create a comfortable environment for you to learn this, but you're going to need to step up. I'm going to send to Tim and Kathy some work that Ronald Heifetz at Harvard has done about transformative change, specifically the 6 principles of helping people in businesses, or in this case, school community organizations, transform their thinking to reach higher levels of effectiveness and creativity. It's a really brilliant work in terms of helping people gently shift their mindsets to try something new, especially in a time of crisis. And I will get that to the foundation for you. And it might be something that can prove useful to you. But again, as a former school leader, there are times where I had to say to my faculty, look, Montessori was an experimenter. She tried new things. If she wasn't willing to look at children in a new light and try new approaches to unlocking children's potential, none of us would be here today. The follow-up question to that is, are you willing to be an experimenter with us? We're going to support you, and I understand you're not feeling comfortable, but we need to step up out of our comfort zone to get through this time together. And I think that's a cultural construct leaders need to share with their people, and then support their people to get through that in an emotionally safe way.
Okay, thank you so much.
To go along
I want to
with,
let you all know something. I'm going to get up for just a minute and give my wife my iPhone. She's managed to lose her iPhone at a kind of critical time. All of you who are watching this meeting and are enjoying what's in the chat, or got kicked off and are discovering you're missing whole sections of the chat, first off, we are going to save the chat at the end of it. Somehow or another, Christina or I will cut out of it all the emails that you have shared with us, because the purpose of those emails is to put you onto discussion groups so that we are to be able to reach you as things unfold. You don't have to, it's up to you, but please do. But we're not going to post your email publicly. That's the first thing, nor share it. The second thing is, if you want to, in the lower right side of the chat panel, you'll see 3 little buttons. And if you click that, you'll see save text or save chat to computer. You can download your own copy right now. However, I have been told by people who have been knocked off because of internet problems or who joined late, you may not be seeing all of the chat, but please feel free to do that if you want. I will be right back.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Okay, I'd love to hear from anyone else who would like to share if you have some concerns.
I have 2
ideas.
thoughts, if it's all right to share with you.
Okay. Can you tell us your name and where you're from?
Yes, I'm Early from Provo, Utah. And first is the idea of adaptability. In terms of success in executive function skills, there's 3 main ones, right? And one of them is mental flexibility. So the ability, I would present this to your teachers, whoever is having problem with the teachers getting on the computer, saying, you know, success is defined with executive function skills. There's some videos at the Harvard Institute for Child Development that are very good at explaining these 3. And I would say we need to develop the ability to adapt, change our mindset, see things differently if we want to succeed. And the other 2 are inhibitory control. So, and that is, I don't want to do something, but I will do it because I know I should. Or maybe I want to do something, but I won't because I know it's not the right time. And basically focus or working memory, remembering what you're supposed to be working on. So anyway, that's one thought. And then the other thought, I just wanted to share with you something that we're doing in my school that I think is helping the parents feel less overwhelmed. We created a video in which we recommended the parents establish and keep a healthy routine. And we come from an approach of, we're doing this to serve you. If it doesn't serve you, that's fine. But if you want it, this is what we're doing for you and your children. We have 2 live meetings every day at 9:30 and 1:30. And we do it like a circle. We share songs. We do a Spanish immersion program. So we do it in Spanish, share vocabulary, and show the kids at the end a presentation of a work. And we also created a bag for them to take home for a week's worth of activities. So like planting a seed. So we put a plastic cup and seeds and just little things like that. Yeah. Play-Doh, sewing a little book of paper. We did about 8 activities. And so when we do the classes with our kids, we take them, okay, today we're going to be talking about seeds. So we give them a whole lesson on plants, the parts of a flower, seeds, and then we send them to work time. And we told the parents that their kids are used to working independently here. So if they set up these works for them and they can also create their own and put stuff for them, they can tell them, it's my work time and it's your work time. So for the next 30 minutes, 40 minutes, however long, we're gonna be working on our own projects. And then they can come together and have lunch together, sit down, talk. We told the parents, your kids need that social connection. We'll do it online, but they also need a time when they know they can talk to you about anything. So please have lunch together and dinner if you can. And then we do another round of the video and then work time. And then lastly, what we're doing too is we are establishing 2 afternoons a week where we get together in an open area in a park without a playground, just so the kids can play ball or run, because being out in nature also helps your immune system and it helps the kids look forward to a time when they're connected. So we're a private school, and this is basically everything we're doing is taking us full-time work. We're here preparing lessons, giving video calls, but we're hoping the parents will value this, the resources they get, they take home, so that they continue to pay for their kids' tuition, you know, until we get out of this. So that's all.
Really a balanced approach. Wow. Just amazing. I love how it looks like a Montessori work period, but there are times for community, times for connection. It's really well thought out. Would any of your videos be shareable?
Sure, we can make them. I've uploaded the first 3 on YouTube, and I can send you a link. The YouTube channel we created is Wonderful World. That's the name of the channel. You could look us up.
Thank you. Thank you for your work.
Thank you for your encouragement.
Anyone else? Questions, comments, or sharing?
Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Saloni, and I work at Long Hill Montessori in New Jersey. I'm also a cohort 4 emerging leaders member with AMS. I just wanted to share that we're going through this crisis and uncharted territory, but I feel like there's also a silver lining to this. I think this is a great opportunity for parent education, for raising awareness for Montessori. Like, for example, my school has this YouTube channel that we're doing also. And if we're comfortable with this, I would like to invite my neighbors and my friends and my family members who are not associated with Montessori to also join in, and they can take benefit from this also.
That's a very good point you're raising, because one of the things that's happened is a lot of children have been removed from traditional education and are sitting at home, and most of them will do workbooks, but they may get enchanted. If we play our cards right, we can not only support ourselves and get through this, we can widen the circle, which is our common goal in the public and private sector. Kathy.
Just real quickly, Tim, just for a moment. She also used the interesting word silver lining, and this is the second time this has come up this week. Patty Sobelman at the Pine School in Texas actually presented to her community, we're going to find the silver lining in all of this and create meaning out of this. And I think, again, as a school leader, it's our job to help people reframe things as opportunities as opposed to crisis. And I think the idea of there are silver linings in all of this and opportunities for us to learn as a community and grow individually is a very powerful construct.
And John, I would like to recommend that everybody who has not yet read Andrew Kutt's recent blog about our global oneness and coming together, to read that blog. It is so inspiring. It's up on the Montessori Foundation conversation group page, and I know you can find it other places, but it is it's a really spectacular piece of writing. Thank you so much, Andrew, and very inspiring. And I think will help us all really in a very concrete way realize that we are part of a global family that is working together to support our children and our families and each other.
Oh, yeah.
Kathy, do we have Cindy's permission to share her YouTube channel?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to put it here.
Yes. Also, I want to say that there was a point made that I think is really important we need to share, is that many of the public and charter schools also have tuition paying 3- and 4-year-olds as part of their programs. So they have some vulnerabilities as well. They also have some additional concerns, such as meals for children. Children are used to getting their breakfast and their lunch from the schools. They have, you know, the digital equity that we spoke about before. There's quite a few unique challenges, and there is some overlap. So we do have a group that's working on helping with some resources specific to publicly funded programs. And we have a team, Christine, that's, well, we're working directly with the National Center for Montessori in the Public Sector, let's say that. We're collaborating with organizations that already have some structure in place. We're certainly not trying to reinvent the wheel. But I think that we'll end up scheduling a Zoom town hall just for the publicly funded schools. So hang on, and we will get there. We will have those folks who are leading up that task force as part of that. Now that we've had some of these larger town halls with, you know, 100 people, and we still have a need because not everyone's been able to get in. So we're going to continue to hold these. At the same time, you're going to see us starting to break off into specific groups. So just like the economic impact group. So we'll have meetings for that. We'll have meetings for publicly funded. We'll have meetings to help you with parent resources. So some of these, the task forces will be putting out some additional meetings to help meet the needs that are just immediate. They're just absolutely immediate. Someone's asking about the name and the location of the blog that was mentioned.
That would be Andrew's blog.
Oh, Andrew's blog. Okay.
Well, you can find it on my WordPress. You can find it on, first of all, Christine, thank you so much. I mean, appreciate it. And all of us are doing our part, right? Sharing our you know, our insights and our talents in whatever ways we possibly can to bring our community together and help each other through this time. You can easily find the blog on Andrew Kutt WordPress, or is it on the foundation somewhere?
It's on the Montessori Foundation Conversation Group Facebook page.
And my last name is K-U-T-T, Andrew Kutt, K-U-T-T. It's also on our school's website, Oneness Family School.
Thank you. It was very inspiring, Andrew. And I think, I agree. I think we should all not only read it, but reread it regularly, which I have done as well, because I think it's essential to keep ourselves in check and understanding this from a global perspective, from a human perspective, as you would say. Yeah.
Can I just add one brief thing right now? We've all mentioned this, and I think all of you have mentioned this as well, but I think the idea of keeping in mind that this is an extraordinary circumstance that none of us have ever dealt with before. We're going to have to do things in baby steps in order to do them well. And I know that we're all feeling kind of hyper alert and that we need to do things very, very, very quickly. But if we can take a step back from that and realize that, you know, taking our time to do this and doing this in small increments is going to create more value ultimately. So, you know, just in terms of the self-care thing, if we can just all take a breath, like it's going to happen. All of this is going to happen. It's not all going to happen today, and that's okay.
Yeah, very true. It won't all happen today, but again, keep it simple, keep something regularly coming out, I think is going to be real important. Any other needs you'd like to share with us? Any other way we can support?
I have a question. Hello?
Hello.
Tell us who you are.
Can you tell us your name and where you are?
My name is Netta, and I work at a Central Montessori school in Toronto, Canada. And we're still on March break, and this happened at a good time for us because we're on March break and we have one more week of March break to go. So we really do have some time to put this together. Next week is professional development for our elementary teachers. So this is actually a great time to start putting things together. We're just trying to get our heads around what a day will look like. So yeah, somebody mentioned that they're doing, you know, a meeting in the morning, a meeting in the afternoon. How does it work with different teachers, with specialists? I know we're not doing, you know, giving a sheet with assignments, you know, to do and submit, but how much of it is video conferencing and how much of it is, you know, just activities given to the students?
I think you're referring to just my example of what I do.
Yes, yes.
We do twice a day for a group meeting. So 9:30 and 1:30 is like, let's share songs, show us something you're into, something you're doing. We created a space. So somebody brought some flowers she found yesterday and we describe it and talk about it. This is a 3 to 6 year old group. We also sent out a sign up Google Excel sheet where parents, excuse me, could sign up for private lessons twice a week.
Okay, sorry.
But I don't know if that's kind of what you're asking. So I would do, that we were doing both. So we've also thought about grouping kids by reading level, but we haven't done that yet. But we could easily, with an Excel sheet, just find a time in the day and send it out and invite people to do it. With the elementary kids, I also have elementary age children that I homeschool, and they get really excited about presenting. Like somebody said, you could have the kids present. I think that's a great idea. Sorry. If I tell my kids, we're going to do this activity and we're going to put it online for your friends to share. It gives them that sense, that social need that they have, you know, to connect with kids. So maybe they could do that, you know, prepare lessons for other children to share. And then when you have your group time, you could maybe just talk about it for a minute. I don't know, just a thought.
We are, so it's really nice. We have a nice community. I know I have 3 kids and my kids are at the school too. So I know some parents, for example, have made a community group where, you know, from 10 o'clock till 11 o'clock every day, the children from the class have a little chat group on Google. So they're already doing some of this community stuff, which is great. And I love that the children are getting that social. I'm just wondering in terms of, you know, teachers doing lessons, we're kind of don't have our heads around it. Is it that the teachers are constantly on video conferencing doing lessons and then sending them off, or is there like a week of
the way we're doing it, or morning and afternoon times, are only 30 minutes, so they're short, but they give them a structure. The main purpose of it is to help the parents provide a structure for the kids, and also the social connection and sharing all that too. And then our private lessons are scheduled for 20 minutes, so we don't have the teacher's schedule filled with it. We just have like 2 hours a day, like after lunch. I think the teacher set it up because she wants the morning time to prepare the packages that they're taking home. And we decided that we want to send things on paper. We do a folder with individualized math and language works, but we also include tangible hands-on things for cultural for the culture area. So we bought, here I can show you really fast. So these are the bags that we're sending home. And we bought sandwich boxes, and just with some extra materials I had some sand and some rocks and stuff, and we're sending it more just for the sensorial of it. We're gonna show them a table. So my group is 3 to 6, but table washing and blowing a book, just kind of things that are not paper to help them be more interested. That's it. So.
There, just a reminder, Nada, there is a task force led by Kitty Bravo, the director of Center for Guided Montessori Studies, that is working on each program level to develop ideas for what teachers can do in a way that works for children, parents, and teachers, so as not to overwhelm them. And they will be doing some ongoing webcasts also on that.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. Thank you so much. I will also tell you the questions are coming in about how to organize the day and how to keep track of which teachers are using which Zoom accounts, things like that. I have meetings today with 2 different marketing companies that are offering free opportunities for sort of a calendar scheduling system. So as soon as I find out more details, they have offered to collaborate with us and to get it out to as many people as possible at no charge. So Montessori Agency and Nido Marketing are both working with us, and I will have more information by this afternoon because I'm meeting with them today. So I'll get that out as soon as I can.
That would be amazing for a school like us. I
don't know the details yet, so I'm just letting you know that they have offered and that we're reaching out to try to get that taken care of.
So
Tim?
just to reiterate, we've had many people say, can we organize some kind of central repository or a channel where people can talk to each other and share ideas?
Yeah.
And there are more channels out there than you can possibly imagine. There's Montessori teachers, there's Montessori leadership. What we're mostly finding is that the ones that are typing in text, it becomes very disjointed. They're useful, but you can't usually find things easily to come up with a clear plan for yourself. We don't think there will be a one-size-fits-all. Your schools are unique. Your children are unique. Your teachers are all their own people. And so what our job, if you're a school leader, is to try to come up with a coherent plan that represents your sense of what your school is all about, your culture, what you want to carry on, because the goal here is to support the children's learning, support the teachers from feeling overwhelmed and scared they're going to lose their jobs. We want to continue the children's learning, and we need to keep our schools afloat financially. So we're looking for different strategies, and there are many strategies. Any of you that are willing to share a resource that you think is really great, who should they send it to, Kathy?
Well, for right now, they can send it to me, and I am going to get some help with my email.
Where
So
they could post it in the Montessori Foundation conversation.
that could be one way to do it, and then we'll harvest it from there and get it onto this centralized site. That's a great way. And then the people who are helping me sort of triage this email influx can kind of harvest that information and get it onto our website. That would be helpful. I'm just right now posting something from, let's see, this is Susan.
Andrew.
Susan from Laughing Star Press has just offered to the Montessori community some free resources. If you're not familiar with her or her work, there's a lot of cultural and geography type activities. So I'm posting that here as well. We'll make sure that that also goes to the conversations page and goes into our resource on our on the website that's being created today. So those are all things we can do. If you know people who were not able to get in on the meeting today, please let them know to watch for more announcements. We will meet as a team very quickly and get some more meeting dates scheduled. I'm continuing to get a lot of emails today from people who have tried to get into this meeting and were shut out. If we can find something that, you know, if Zoom can get us up and running, we're waiting for the technology to catch up with the need is basically where we are. So
Right, and one of the things that was suggested today was the idea of keeping a meeting like this as just open. As I mentioned, Tammy Willen and a bunch of her teachers wandered into my personal meeting room hours in advance, being worried they'd be shut out.
yeah,
And I think we had a really good conversation. So Kathy and John, maybe we can see if one of our volunteers is willing to staff, you know, keep a meeting open during specific office hours.
right.
Not
Specific hours,
a
yeah.
organized topic, but is just basically a forum. And the difference between this and Facebook is it's two-way communication.
Right.
And it's video if you turn your camera on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's going to be great. John, go ahead.
Well, I think the other thing we can recommend to people, and I almost didn't get into the meeting today because I signed on too late, is until Zoom gives us the capacity of 500 to 1,000, which is what we've contracted with them, but they have trouble processing, then encourage your friends, if they want to come to future town meetings, to get online and get in queue early on. Don't leave it to the last minute before the meeting starts, because it's first come, first serve until we have the capacity for larger groups.
Right.
Somebody has mentioned that Nido Marketing has made their Montessori at Home guide adaptable, which I assume means that you can modify it.
Right.
Really appreciate the work they're trying to do for Montessori. My book, How to Raise an Amazing Child, is something that people can get on Kindle if they want. Again, we have lots of resources. The Center for Guided Montessori Studies must have somewheres in excess of 10,000 videos. The problem is those videos are designed for teacher ed and are not really what the situation needs, which is that person-to-person or group connection. And just as you folks are online, and if you unmute yourself, you're talking to real people, my sense is that's really what will get us through. The last thing I want to say before we begin to wrap up this meeting is, one, I will find a way to create office hours and get it staffed so that Kathy and John and I and Christine can do other things too, because we're dealing with a lot of different projects to try to get resources to you. Did we even mention the website that we're working on?
Yes, I did. But we will put that out as soon as it has
Yeah.
some resources in it, which hopefully we're working on. Well, we are working on it today, not hopefully.
Yeah, the time to go from I have a dream about what could happen to it's there is a lot. We're not there yet. So we'll be ready for the next crisis. We'll be up and running in a week or so, at least with preliminary. But
Again, though, I want to add that this was Tim's idea less than a full week ago. So the amount that has been done in less than a week is quite remarkable.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tim and Kathy and John, for all of your efforts.
Well, you too, Christine.
yeah, and hopefully, I mean, we've encouraged our colleagues at AMS and AMI and Trillium Montessori, everyone to bring whatever resources they have to bear on it. But I will offer another thought. In 1982, I got into a real fight with my friend Greta Weiss when she was the executive director of AMS and I was on the executive board. And the fight was about my belief, my observation that Montessori was going to go from being tribal and centralized in national or international offices to much more of a network of decentralized nexuses of community, and that we're all in it together. I think this is living proof that, one, we've moved a long ways towards that. You all are probably part of some sort of state alliance, which was one of the reasons why we created the International Montessori Council. We don't try to own it or control anything. We just try to throw out seeds and get things going that we believe will help. Each one of you is the center of influence, first for your own school, because you got to take care of yourself first, and also for whatever other good you can do in the world. So please keep up the good work. We're in it together and we really, really care about you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody. We'll continue to push emails out. We now have your email here. If you've come on late and want to add your email to make sure that you don't miss any of the notices, go ahead, put them there. We'll make sure that you are included in our list.
And also down below, remember, notice at the bottom of, let me just join the chat again. I think a lot of people are getting kicked off and rejoining. Before we end the meeting, notice again, if you want to save the text of the chat, go to the 3 dots at the bottom of the chat and click that, and you can save it to your computer.
Right.
So it just says save chat, and then probably do it when everyone is finished posting, because you'll have a snapshot in time of whatever you can see. And then when Christine and I get a chance, we will strip your emails out of this and we will post with the YouTube the chat of today's conversation, because we know that some of the things that people shared have been incredibly useful. Yeah. This is very revealing. We are all typing in all kinds of thoughts. So other than your email, your thoughts will get shared, and I hope that's okay. That's what a town hall is.
What's the name of our YouTube channel?
Good question. It's just, as far as I know, it's Montessori Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah, you just Google Montessori Foundation YouTube channel and it pops up.
People are asking about that.
By the way, there's very little there. So just so you know, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of recordings of 90-minute and 30-minute webcasts, but they're mostly not listed. This stuff will be public. If you're a member of the International Montessori Council, there's a lot of stuff hidden behind the firewall. We're not pushing you to join that group. You know, you belong to any group you find useful. Again, don't think in terms of tribes. We're all in it together. But that is what pays our bills, like your tuition that families pays your bills.
So,
any last thoughts from anyone?
Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Claire. I'm calling from the Cayman Islands. We are under isolation at the moment. With the planes are stopping people coming to the island as of this week, and our school has been closed since Friday.
what I've gathered mostly from your meeting today, which has been very helpful, the emotional support that we need to offer our families as opposed to academic support, especially for the infants and the toddlers and the CASA classes. There's so many resources online that parents can find to, in their minds, educate their children. I think as teachers, we need to support them through this with regards to isolating themselves and ensuring that we're not closed for longer than we need to be.
Claire, we do have a parent support task force group. John and I are on that as with Lorna McGrath. We are meeting every day this week to put in place resources that we can provide for all of you so that you have that direct contact with your families and your children. But we'll be giving you, you know, some ideas, just some resources, and we can all continue to work together to do that, because I agree with you that social emotional piece is absolutely critical right now for all ages of children. And again, we'll be doing a webcast today at 1 o'clock that's called How to Talk to Children When the Grown-ups Are Scared. But one of the things we'll be looking at is how to recognize stress in children at different ages and how adults can respond to that stress.
I agree with you, but what I'm hearing from a lot of contributors today is that there's a big influx of teachers trying to enable the parents to teach their children at home, whereas I think at this time we need to support the parents in this new stage in their lives, because it's so difficult. And if we throw a lot of materials at them and a lot of lessons, then I think they're going to become completely overwhelmed, and we're taking away the value of what we teach or how we approach a Montessori classroom. So I hear about some, you know, with the contacts, allowing the children to come by and run around in the space outside. To be honest, that's, to me, it's going against the isolation that is being recommended. I know it's not mandatory in a lot of places, but in order to stop this virus from spreading, we have to, I suppose, model the behavior. So by encouraging parents to stop by in, you know, in the fresh air together. I mean, we all know that 3-6-year-olds, they don't stay 6 feet apart from each other. And I think it's a little bit, I don't know. I just feel that from what I've gathered from today, which has been extremely helpful, and what the teachers that are part of my school that are listening, is that we need to offer daily support, so they feel that they're you know, someone has their back. Well, rather than telling them how to be teachers, they're not teachers. Yep. And if they're going to fail if we all know that children don't listen to their parents at home. So it's all well and good setting up a Montessori work area. And we tell our parents, and we encourage our parents to allow the children to be independent and to work, you know, work on tasks independently. And that's something that we've informed our parents this week. But what I feel is that if we don't support them in the sense that you're doing a good job, what are your issues at the moment and how can we help you? I think it's a great idea to do daily visits on Zoom with our parents, with the children, so they can see our faces. We can read them stories online. We can talk to them online, because that, I mean, we're a fee-paying school, so we don't know actually. We've been closed, or mandatory closure now, until the 27th of April is our initial closure. So we've been given 6 weeks by government that we have to close. So, you know, it's uncharted territory for us. And I know that I don't know if we're going to go on further than the 27th of April or for the rest of the school year, whether we'll be able to keep our teachers on, whether we'll be able to, you know, keep our students. We have a big expat community on the island that, you know, may actually leave. So I think in order for parents to feel they're getting any kind of value, when they feel that they can download materials or information online for homeschooling, I think that the only way I feel that we can keep our parents that are able to afford to still pay fees is to show them some kind of emotional support, so they feel that they need us and they feel that our children still need us and our faces and our voices.
You know, Claire, I really appreciate your sensitivity to your community. One of the things that's being shared by the news media here in the States is there are going to be waves of this outbreak at different times in different places in the United States. And to me, the analogy there is every school leader and their staff need to ask, where are our parents at and where is our school at? There are some schools that are so far ahead of the curve in terms of establishing a sense of community and connection. They are really ready to have their teachers and their parents jump into more curriculum, more learning experiences. There are other schools that are at an earlier stage in this where they really need to establish connections between people and a sense of community. So I think you also have to look at where's your school at in the evolution of your response to this. And the other thing, and I'm just guessing that you have an early childhood program, parents of older students are going to be expecting academic learning going on at home. And they're going to want to know how to support that. Parents of younger children will not be academically driven. So I also think you have to look at the age levels of your school to decide how are we going to balance social, emotional, community building support with some rigorous academic experiences that the children enjoy that don't overwhelm the parents or the teachers. So it's really about sensitivity to your school and your population that will determine your path.
Yeah, I agree. Your first point, especially, yeah, we're all in different situations and in different countries. We do have an older program which we have already sent out a more academic, structured learning process for them, so that it's the early years I'm talking about more, really.
Well, and you're absolutely right about the early years connection.
But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I just add?
I think that's where, I suppose this is where we're leading to now.
Good luck.
Can I just like zoom in on the fact that I'm a working mom of 3, and we have to think about that childcare aspect of it too, right? So especially for the younger ones, I mean, hopefully we can,
absolutely, and
it's for the older children that they can work independently and be accountable to the teacher rather than accountable to, their parents. So to be accountable to themselves and the teacher in some ways, but for the younger ones, the childcare aspect of it is a big one, because I know both me and my husband are working from home right now. So it's tough to get the time to spend, a huge amount of time kind of, being the teacher and teaching and follow through with setting up videos and,
And I think the psychology, if I could add to that, I'm seeing a huge difference in the mindset of our teachers that have young children at home with them and those that don't. Those of us whose kids are growing up, we always worry about them, and we're worrying about them today. But the teachers who I'm seeing with young children are very overwhelmed. I wasn't quite sure how to handle it, except to be gentle and to honor that. But it also gave me an insight into how all these parents are feeling. There's a definite psychology of wanting to hunker down and take care of your own, and not having time to schedule the appointments with parents and stuff. So I'm just trying to be sensitive to that and navigate it as we go.
Larry, one of the task forces that I serve on with Christine and Lorna McGrath will be the Parent and Family Support Task Force. And probably as early as next week, we're going to start having some town hall meetings or some breakouts just for people who want to look at how do I negotiate working at home, if I'm working at home, supporting my child, supporting my significant other. The support for the family in this completely different lifestyle arrangement is really important. And we're going to try to address that and get people's ideas in town hall meetings like this, but specifically around that issue of how you juggle work life, family life, especially with younger children, Netta's point, and that's going to be coming up shortly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other final thoughts? It's just about time for us to log off and get ready for the next meeting.
Can I say something from South Africa?
Please.
Absolutely.
Hi, my name is Susie. I've got a small Montessori school in Cape Town, South Africa. So how I've left my school kids on Monday, we broke up. I left them feeling, well, basically in South Africa, we've dealt with drought, we've dealt with electricity shortages. This is something quite common. So the kids have been used to seeing how we can recycle the water and how we can get into craft projects about like water shortages and all of that. And then also with electricity, how can we turn in our school into solar electricity, etc. So my final comments with them, my conversation with them was really to say, you know, guys, when we had a drought, what do we do? Make a plan. When we had electricity shortage, what do we do? We make a plan. Okay, guys, what do we do with COVID? Okay, we make a plan. So they all have gone home knowing that worldwide we need to make a plan, and that means that we just need to slow down the bug. So they all left in a good space. We're also quite fortunate that we were going to go on holiday on Friday anyway, so our holidays are just a little bit longer. Instead of 2 weeks, it's 4 weeks, so it's very doable. So my parents are set up that when school goes back, it's either going to be in 3D or in 2D. So I haven't quite figured it out yet, but I want to be able to simulate my classroom online. So my kids are still going to do exactly the same work. They can go onto WhatsApp, get into their small little groups. I'm fortunate I've got a small school, so it's a little easier to handle. I've already set my kids up that they can do their work with their buddies online on WhatsApp. I want to create like some type of classroom, either Google Classroom or Zoom Classroom or something that we can still do dance, we can still do karate, we can still do big presentations where I can see everybody. All they need is internet and all they need is some type of device. So they still need to do all of their work that's scheduled. I do have a bit of a problem with obviously the younger ones, 6 years and 7 years, but from 8 up to 13, I don't have any type of issue with the type of work that they're going to be doing. So they're left with knowing that, okay, they will start school. It's just might not be in person, it might be online, but they will still get through their curriculum.
You know, Susie, you said something at the beginning I want to reinforce, which I think is really great leadership on your part. It's helping children, parents, and of course, especially staff, reframe this experience as this is an opportunity for us to come up with creative solutions. And it's really the job of leadership and also the job of teachers with children to go, yes, it's a difficult time and we want to listen to your concerns and be empathic about your needs and your feelings. But this is a great opportunity for us to build community and come up with some really cool solutions. And I think that's great framing on your part as a school leader.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I just want to thank everyone for taking this much time out of your day. I know that everyone's, we're in this new sort of scheduling and reality of our own needs for our schools, for supporting families and for supporting each other. And by being here today, hopefully you feel supported, but also you feel like they're part of a community. As you can see, it wasn't about necessarily what we have to share. It's about us creating a forum and an opportunity for you to share with each other and continuing to go through the Facebook page of Montessori Conversations to be able to have this website up and running so people can access some organized materials that you can customize for your own schools, and for us, just looking to each other, that we are part of a community and we can reach out to each other. So don't hesitate if you do have needs, reach out to us. We're continuing to try to find ways to broaden the circle of people contributing to each other, because you have the expertise, you're on the ground doing this work. And we also have a lab school that we're working with. And so we're right there with you, making all the same decisions and faced with the same challenges of serving students and families. So I appreciate you being here. Tim, did you have a final word?
I just was looking at Madison Donovan's question about the family and parent town meeting. Did we say we were going to do one of those?
Next week, we're going to start having
the live ones. Okay, yeah. And the answer is yes, anyone will be able to get in. The real issue is we'll have to figure out how we're doing them, because again, the goal here is we're used to GoToMeeting, and with GoToWebinar, we can have 3,000 of our nearest and dearest friends, but they can only see us. We can't see them, and they can only, it's very impersonal compared to.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we will. We'll come up with
Good.
something and we will let everyone know. And I have a couple people who have emailed me during this meeting who are interested in helping with some technology challenges too. So, and this is cross organizations. We have people from AMS, AMI, MEPI, everyone's banding together. MACD, Montessori in the Public Policy Initiative. So in other words, all the alphabet soups are coming together and it's just a lovely soup. It's really better.
Let me close with this thought. I mentioned that back in '82, Greta and I had, little words about whether things were going to move to the state level. What I said then is true now. There's no one solution. There's going to be things that happen in your city. There's going to be things that happen in your state. There's going to be things that are regional. There'll be things that are national. Don't think of it in terms of tribes. Find the support that's helpful to you, whether it's mentors, heads of other schools, other Montessori teachers, people who are from the same training organization as you. It really doesn't matter. It's the idea of circles that interconnect, understanding that there are many different voices, and our goal is to create as much of a circle that's big enough to hold us all, where you don't have to choose one side versus another side. There's just different ways of worship and different ways of making music. We're all in it together. And I think it's been proven to be true. There's big groups and small groups. Not sure if that's my phone ring, so that's probably a good sign for us to say this meeting is over.
To let you go, we'll be scheduling more. Just watch for your emails. And so great to see everybody coming together. Thanks, Jonathan and Christine, as well, for helping to facilitate and giving up of your time and resources for the project.
Yeah, and do watch the Montessori Foundation
website,
Facebook, and particularly the conversation group, because we're really focused on trying to get the word out in a coherent manner where it's not just going out willy-nilly everywhere. But I will be trying to figure out a way to start what I'll call Montessori town halls like this that happen on a regularly scheduled basis. Not just, I mean, they won't continue forever and ever, but during the crisis, we'll be trying to figure out some way to create channels like this where if you want to, you can get together and talk.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Keep breathing. Keep smiling. Stay healthy.
Namaste, everyone.